It's Friday, June the 16th, and this is RamView.
It's hot out there, so let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the June 16th, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. All right. So a lot of stuff going on today. What's going on at the Ravine? NFL free agents, Rams cuts, unsigned picks. A look at week 7 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And remembering Crazy Legs, Elroy, Hirsch, and the dude from the video named Frank Corral. Okay. So I've just been noticing things, right? It's just one of those eras that you're noticing things. Right now, up to 1,000 protesters are I've heard up to 1,000 are marching on Dodger Stadium. That is in follow-up to the Sisters of a Perpetual Indulgence night that they're celebrating there at Dodger Stadium, and everyone got all up in arms about a month ago. And they were my opinion was asked as a sports writer / pastor. And basically the response I have is the same response I had then. The corporations can do what they want to do, but that also means you get to do what you want to do. All right. You don't have to go. You don't have to support. You can change your mind. Obviously, some of the stuff that's happened with Target and Bud Light these last couple months proves that you can make a choice. Now, also, I do think that maybe a little more action has to be taken when your government is kind of pushing an agenda, a moral agenda, I might ask, upon you. Then maybe you need to do a little more than just boycott. Maybe you need to do something else, but they can do what they want to do. You can do what you want to do, and no one gets blind trust anymore. And that's another thing that's kind of come up just before we get to talking some NFL is talking about blind trust. We live in an age. My wife said that my wife brought this up right at the time of COVID, and none of the narratives were mashing. Right, none of the narratives were seeming to go together. Everything was changing. And she said, and I totally subscribe to it, is that we live in an era where everything has to be questioned. Everything, even if somebody comes up with a conspiracy theory, the way the government has been run these last few years, the way everything's gone in the culture the last 5-6 years, is you got to look at it suspiciously, right? And it doesn't make you crazy. Colin Cowherd's been on a kick. I think Colin Cowherd is the best sports guy on the air as far as talent. He is really gifted. He's right up there. He's the sports version of Limbaugh in terms of talent, being able to share and speak on the mic. I've never listened to Howard Stern, but I always heard it was Stern and Limbaugh, that these were the key guys. I kind of go Limbaugh, Art Bell. Art Bell was kind of creepy, but anyway. But Cowherd, I've noticed it. Boy, the last few weeks, he keeps bringing up and dropping into his arguments, his monologues. He keeps dropping in election deniers. And I'm kind of curious, what election deniers is he talking about? The ones in 2000, the ones in 2016, the ones in 2020, the ones in 2022. Our culture and our whole existence these days has been called into question in terms of what's going on with our government and what's going on. And so naturally, everybody is suspicious because nothing seems to make sense anymore. And you're not stupid. As much as people think you're stupid, you're not stupid. And so yeah, I think it is right to call into question anything and everything. You don't just blind trust. You don't blind trust your government. You don't just blind trust your local municipalities when everyone's pushing one narrative. And you don't have to trust your corporations. You can say, hey, you know what? I'm not down with that. I've liked everything you've done before, but I'm just walking away. People did that a little bit with the NFL. I think the NFL probably has the hardest brand probably to walk away from, but it is something people have done. The NFL did suffer in the Colin Kaepernick business. It did suffer in that whole kneeling business, not greatly, but it did have an impact, and it still does. People, after a while, they read the tea leaves, they see what's going on, and they don't like it, and so hence this march at Dodger Stadium. And hey, more power to them. Let the Dodgers understand that they have a fan base, that you don't insult your fan base, as Bud Light learned, as others learned. And so yeah, I think you're right to be suspicious. I think you're right not to be trusting. I think you're right to be questioning. And I say that as a minister who opens his Bible every Sunday to preach, that if someone's going to challenge me, I better have answers, and they have every right to challenge me. So anyway, into that, I just thought it was interesting because it was a harken back to what we talked about a month ago with the Sisters Perpetual Indulgence coming to Dodger Stadium. And that whole thing is playing out right now as we're on the air. All right. Around the NFL, as we look at what's going on in the NFL right now, looking at some of the free agents that are still out there. And so you got Kareem Hunt, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins. These are the key guys that are out there, let alone Jadeveon Clowney and I think Justin Houston, the other ones we've talked about before. And you have to wonder where a guy like Kareem Hunt, who didn't have a great year in Cleveland last year, but you have to wonder where he might end up. Some team's going to sign him. They're going to get desperate for a running back. The other one is Dalvin Cook. I actually saw a link. I didn't click on it. Maybe some of you did, where Kirk Cousins envisions a possibility of Cook returning to the Vikings. I don't see that happening. And then, of course, another speculation is DeAndre Hopkins going to New England. And I've seen DeAndre Hopkins linked with New England and Tennessee. And while I don't think Tennessee's a great place, I think the party is over in New England. And I don't know if I'd want to go there, although Bill O'Brien is the OC. Bill O'Brien was his coach in Houston during some of his best years. So that could be interesting to see. Dalvin Cook has more value than Kareem Hunt. Who's got the bucks? Who wants to pay? And of course, Kareem Hunt has got some history. So I think you get him at a cheaper rate, but you do get some baggage there with him. All right. The other thing that's been bouncing around is Chase Young. Are the Washington Texans going to trade Chase Young? They didn't offer him the 5th year on his contract. And honestly, you look at Chase Young, and I understand why people think he's great. But you look at Chase Young's production, and I don't understand why people think Chase Young is great. Yeah, he had the knee injury, but he's been around for 3 seasons. He's played, 27 games. He's got 8 career sacks or 9 career sacks. That's it. That's all he has. I think 7 of them were picked up his rookie year. He's played literally in the last 3 seasons, 770 snaps his rookie year, 477 the year he hurt his knee, and only 114 last year. But even when he's playing, he played 9 games in 2021, and he only had 1.5 to 2 sacks. His production is not great. He's been fantastic against the run, but he doesn't seem like that guy who's really going to go get the quarterback, kind of like Jadeveon Clowney. So I saw a rumor, because I know Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri, is out there, and he's a Steeler fan, and the rumor I saw that said very, very strong indication here is that the Steelers could make a move for Chase Young and maybe balance him out on the other side from TJ Watt. And okay, but you drafted Nick Herbert. Now I understand Nick was 4th round, 5th round, but I don't know if I'd want to pay the dough, and I don't know if I'd want to, put up with the lack of production that a guy like Chase Young is given. Again, I don't know why he's considered so great, and yet people just fawn over him. And I don't know, I haven't seen the production, right? Okay, moving on. Did you know that former Arizona head coach and Panthers interim Steve Wilkes is the new DC with the 49ers? That kind of surprised me a little bit. I did not know that, but I thought it was interesting given that he coached in the NFC West. He played the Rams last year, and now he is the DC in in the Bay Area. And so I just thought, that's something to think about, as you think about Bill O'Brien being the OC in New England, and and bringing in maybe a DeAndre Hopkins if he can get him, who players are lined up with and coaches. And Steve Wilkes has a lot of experience playing against the Rams. And so it would be interesting to see. It is going to be interesting to see how again, his defense fares against the Rams, especially when you give him the pieces the 49ers have, stars everywhere. And he didn't have that in Carolina, and he didn't have that in Arizona, but he definitely has that in Frisco. And so you think D'Amico Ryans left Frisco and went to Houston as the HC, maybe there's going to be a drop-off in coaching, and now they got a guy there who's pretty familiar. And maybe you already knew this as a fan. This one slipped by me. I did not see it until recently. Okay, some quick Ram news before we go to the break here. The Rams cut kicker Christopher Dunn out of North Carolina State. The other kicker in camp is Tanner Brown, so he's the guy for the moment. He's out of Oklahoma State. And safety Colin Duncan was cut. He's from Mississippi State. Both Dunn and Duncan are undrafted free agents. They're UDFAs. And even Tanner Brown, who's now the kicker in camp, he's a UDFA, undrafted free agent. And that's interesting because again, you don't make it out of OTAs. No one has to be cut right now. You understand that literally you could carry your 90 roster until the last week of August, and then you can start cutting people. There's no countdown to get to 75 by mid-August, and then a week and a half later to get down to 53, that you can keep these guys. And so they're making their assessments now, moving them out, and possibly looking for other options. Colin Duncan, you can understand. While there's little stuff that's been proven in this secondary outside of Jordan Fuller at safety, but he would be running against Quentin Lake, Russ Yeast. The Rams just signed draft pick Jason Taylor II. Richard LeCounte is still on staff in the room. Rashad Torrance II. These guys, Tanner Engel, Quindle Johnson, and even Jaden Woodby, who was one of the first UDFAs to sign with the Rams after the draft. He's the Boston College guy, kind of a heavy safety. And so when you look at that, they're likely doing Duncan and Brown, mostly Duncan, a favor here because he might get a chance to lash on with another team with not as deep of a roster of safeties. If you look at Tyon Davis, he was immediately signed after he got cut by the Rams. In fact, now it's slipping my mind who he signed with, but he moved on and got work real quick. The Rams 14 draft picks. Those that have been signed are Steve Avila, Ethan Evans, Jason Taylor II, and DeJuan Johnson, Mr. Irrelevant. And leaving Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Stetson Bennett, Nick Hampton, Warren McClendon Jr., Davis Allen, steal of the draft, Puka Nakua, steal of the draft, Trevius Hodges Tomlinson, and Ochon Mathis, and steal of the draft, Zach Evans. As you noticed, I kept mentioning steal of the draft because different writers, different sites have all labeled these guys as, that's the steal of the draft, right? And it would be great if they are. I don't think there's any problem with the Rams signing him. I think this also deals with the Cooper Kupp restructure, the Kupp adjustment that the Rams did on his contract. These guys, they're able to sign them and get them under contract. I think initially estimated was the Rams were looking at needing close to $8 million to sign their entire draft. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. And we'll go from there. But I think gone are the days where you used to remember the holdouts, right? Remember the holdouts that just went on so long and were very painful. Okay, I'm Joe Tarosian, and I do RamView, and I was a sports writer for 21 years, and now I do RamView, and I write books. My books are on Amazon. Just type in Joe Tarosian. There is a joetarosian.com. You can follow me at Twitter at JoeT13B. I've written a couple high school football novels. I've done sports shows online, the old Mid-Valley Sports Show. I was founding member at Mid-Valley Sports, and those guys, Tim and Dwayne, are still doing business. They're in the room with the Chargers. I'm thanks to my sponsors talking about the Rams. So be sure to check out Kistler Law if you have an auto need. And of course, for auto repair, talk to John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. They just did my brakes this last week. So check those dudes out. Okay, I think we got the commercial in. Just before we get to on this date in Ram history, I love doing the Ram history stuff. So I literally try to listen to everything and expose myself to as much as I can expose myself to when I'm doing this Ram stuff, right? And I was actually listening to a podcast. I don't want to say who, they weren't insulting or anything, but I don't want to be that guy. But about a month and a half ago, I was the one that counted the snaps. If you remember, I said Aaron Donald has 7,000 snaps. The other 10 projected starters have 5,000 snaps, and Ernest Jones and Jordan Fuller eat up close to 3,000 of those 5,000. Well, I was really interesting. I was listening to someone on another Rams talk show. I'm not saying anyone stole anything from me. Right. I'm not at that place yet. I wish I was at a place where I could say someone stole something from me, but I just thought it was interesting hearing my subject of conversation come up someplace else. I own that one. No one else had that one. I own that one. And not that I'm bitter at all much, but how about a little something, for the effort here? Anyway. Okay. On this date in 1955, Frank Corral was born. He turns 68 today, and Frank Corral spent 4 seasons with the Rams, 1978 through 1981 out of UCLA. He was the Rams kicker all 4 of those seasons, and then in 80 and 81, he did double duty. He was one of the last guys in the NFL to be a kicker and a punter. He was average as a punter. I think it was John Misko that replaced him. He replaced Ken Clark, who was the Canadian kicker that kicked for the Rams in 79 and in the Super Bowl. But I love Frank Corral. Frank Corral hit some big kicks. I think the game against Philly, the season opener in '78, was one that really stands out to me. But he was an average kicker. He didn't have a great Super Bowl, Super Bowl 14, but he was a fair kicker. And the Rams definitely improved when they moved on from him because they ran Corral out there in 78 through 81. And if you remember, in 82, that's when Mike Lansford took over. And Mike Lansford was the kicker at least through 89, 90. Arcadia's Mike Lansford. And it caused us to look at the Rams kickers a little bit because the year before Frank Corral in 77 was Raphael Septien. He ended up with the Cowboys. And then in 75, 76, it was Tom Dempsey. And 73, 74, 72, 71, those years, it was David Ray. And before that, I think it was Bruce Gossett. And I'm going to stop right there. And before, because I think I might say Danny Villanueva. I'm not sure after Bruce Gossett, before Bruce Gossett. So anyway, Frank Corral turned 68 today. Also, because he just looked like a dude from my neighborhood, had the beard and everything. He really looked like some dude down at the mall, at El Monte Mall, that just hanging out, right? He looked like some dude that would just be cruising down Garvey Boulevard. I don't know. We felt a kinship with Frank Corral. I don't know. So happy birthday, Frank Corral. He also turns up at Rams events to sign autographs. So good for him. We wish him a happy birthday. Also on this day, born on this day in 1992, former Rams center and now retired center, Austin Blythe. He turns 31 today. All he is 31. And the Rams got some solid years out of Blythe. He was here about, 4 seasons? 2018, he was the full-time starter at right guard, and then he was the full-time starter at center in 2020. In 2020, he was the 15th ranked center according to Pro Football Focus, which puts him, if there's 32 starting centers and your center is number 15, that ranks him pretty high. And when he left, he went to the Chiefs, but then the Chiefs drafted the greatest Ram who never played for the team, Creed Humphrey, that guy, and he hardly got any snaps. Last year, he played for the Seattle Seahawks at center, and he wasn't very good, and he retired. But Austin Blythe, Rams got some really good clicks out of him. He was originally a 7th-round choice by the Indianapolis Colts in 2016, 248 overall. And he played at Iowa. Rams love Iowa linemen. Those Big Ten linemen, the Rams love and do get a lot of clicks out of. So remembering Austin Blythe. Also, I wanted to mention some birthdays tomorrow because we're not on the air tomorrow, and I don't want to miss them because a guy like Elroy, Crazy Legs Hirsch, deserves to be mentioned. Born in 1923, Elroy Hirsch would have turned 100 tomorrow. He passed away in 2004. but he would have been 100 years old. Not only was he a glamour boy, right? He played at Wisconsin, and he also played in the old All-American Football Conference. He was with the Chicago Rockets, and he left them, tried to sign with the 49, not with the 49ers, with the Green Bay Packers, but the Rams owned his rights. And in 1949, he came to the Rams, and he made $20,000 his rookie year in 1949. But then the AAFC merged with the NFL, and the price war dropped. And Elroy Hirsch never made 20 grand a year playing for the Rams. And he played for the Rams from 1950 through 1957, caught something like 343 passes, scored a buttload of touchdowns. He's a Hall of Famer, 17 touchdowns in 51. All recorded in this excellent book, The 1951 Los Angeles Rams. You want to check that out as best you can. That is on Amazon. Just type that in. There you go. Elroy Hirsch served as the Rams general manager from 1960 through about 1969. And you wonder, he was involved in drafting Merlin Olsen, drafting Deacon Jones, drafting Roman Gabriel, some of those key picks, the acquirement of Schiavelli, the acquirement of Charlie Cowan, whose birthday is this coming Monday. So he made some really nice moves. Now, I'm curious to know, what were the moves he made after George Allen got there? Because, George Allen kind of comes in and takes over, and maybe he just acquiesced to Allen's desires or not. But he had a 10-year run as the Rams GM, and when he left the Rams were 11-3 and in the playoffs. So he did a really nice job for the Rams. Went to Wisconsin, was the AD there, got them on the map. And really a brilliant life, Elroy Hirsch. And, of course, he had the Hollywood good looks, right? He's just one of those guys you grew up with that has it all, and you hate him, except if he plays for your team. Okay, and also born tomorrow in 1952 was the late Charles DeJournette, old Southern California son. He played for the Rams from 82 through 86, rotational DT. He died in 2020 at the age of 68. It was interesting. I noticed DeJournette played at San Jose State and was taken in the 17th round by the Chargers in 1974, 418 overall. And, Cody Jones was taken by the Rams in 73 out of San Jose State. So 2 productive guys playing for the Spartans there in the early 70s who had nice NFL careers. DeJournette played in the World Football League with the Southern California Sun. When they folded, he did join the Chargers and then joined the Rams in 82. And here was the other thing. He was a DT nose tackle when the Rams went to 3-4. This guy's size dimensions, 6'4", 263. Our edge players are 6'4", 263. In fact, I think Chase Young is 6'5", 265, and he's expected to get to the quarterback. And Charles DeJournette, 6'4", 263. Okay, born on this day in 1985 is a dude named Craig Dahl. Played 4 years with the Rams. He's 38 years old today. 2009 through 2012. And he was a safety. Got a little cup of coffee with the 49ers after he left the Rams. But he was with some dark Ram teams. I thought it was interesting because he went to North Dakota State. And the Rams really have a penchant for the Montana State, North Dakota State crowd. And that's where he came from. Of course, that predates Les Snead. So interesting. Also born on this day or on tomorrow in 1990, Corey Harkey. He turns 33. He was a tight end for the Rams from 2012 through 2016, a UDFA, undrafted free agent out of UCLA. And he was the ultimate blocking guy, right? Tight end, running back, U-back, H-back, whatever you want to call him. His job was just to pave the road. And he did that pretty well for a couple years for Todd Gurley and Steven Jackson. He's currently on the Bills coaching staff after a brief stint at APU, Azusa Pacific University out here in California, before they collapsed the program, got into something they didn't know was difficult. Anyway, but Corey Harkey is on the Bills staff now, and he turns 33 tomorrow. Okay, so moving right along here. We've been doing each week, each game the Rams are playing this season, week by week, episode by episode. And right now we are in week 7. Coming out of last week, the Rams are 2-4, and they've got victories over the Cardinals and the Indianapolis Colts that we project. And we got losses against the Seahawks, 49ers, Bengals, and Philadelphia Eagles. So they're 2-4. And on October 22nd, 2023, they will welcome the Pittsburgh Steelers to SoFi. Believe it or not, the Rams lead the all-time series against the Steelers 15-9-2. Of course, these are teams that go back for a long way into the 1930s. And they've only had one playoff game. I think it was called Super Bowl 14, which the Rams should have won. Okay, they're breaking in some great guys there. Kenny Pickett's coming into his own. We're not going to talk about the offense too much. We're not going to talk about the offense much at all right now. We're going to do that after we go through all the defenses the Rams are facing. Early on, I projected this as a loss, and I still kind of see it that way. The key Steeler additions, though, were Isaac Sumalo, the guard from Philly, and Patrick Peterson, the corner that used to play for the Cardinals, had a bounce-back year last year with the Vikings, and he's going to play slot. And Peterson offsets Cam Sutton's departure, along with cornerback draft picks, Joey Porter Jr. and Corey Trice out of Purdue. The number one pick for the Steelers was Broderick Jones, tackle out of Georgia, 14th overall. And right now, Jones at left tackle and Sumalo are at guard are projected to be their left side of their line. So they've totally rebuilt the left side of their line. They also took Darnell Washington, that freak of nature from Georgia, Nick Herbig, the edge guy. And so they had a really, really good draft. Oh, Keanu Benton, defensive tackle from Wisconsin, is also pegged right now to be a starter. The Steelers open up 2023 with the 49ers. They play the Browns on Monday night, then the Raiders, the Texans, the Ravens. They get a bye. And so looking at that, I do see them beating the 49ers early because there's quarterback issues still with Frisco. We're not sure yet. I see them beating the Browns on Monday night. I see everybody beating the Raiders. I see the Texans is not ready. The game that I think they can be ambushed is that they might be ambushed early against the Ravens. I don't think they'll be beaten by the Ravens later on, but I think they could be beaten by the Ravens early on. I'm sure Rob, in Missouri, Steeler fan, will disagree with that. But after that Raven game, they go into to a bye week for week 6. So they're coming off a bye week and coming to SoFi. And historically, after a bye week, the Steelers under Mike Tomlinson are something like 10-4. I got to check that, but they're 10-4 after a bye. So that's not good news for the Rams. What's also not good news for the Rams is that the Steelers are like the 49ers. They have stars at every level, depth at every level, it seems like, on defense. Mika Fitzpatrick, I might not like the 20 rocks or 19 rocks the Steelers are paying him a year, but there's no doubt he is one of the top 3 safeties in the NFL. Also, they've rebuilt their corner spots with Joey Porter Jr., Corey Trice, who was projected by many mock drafts to come to the Rams, and Corey Trice is playing well. Steeler fan Rob in Missouri has let me know that. And then Patrick Peterson, who had a resurgence, is slated to play in the slot, and he's 33 years old. It's interesting to see the second wind in Patrick Peterson's career. The linebackers are okay. They signed Cole Holcomb from the Washington Texans. He's okay. And then it's on the edge. You get TJ Watt. You got Alex Highsmith, who had 15 sacks last year. And then you add in Nick Herbig, who a lot of teams really like. Then you go along the defensive line, which is where they might be a tiny bit vulnerable if you run away from Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward is a beast. What 6'4", something like that, 295. He's been in the league since 2011. He was 31st overall in 2011, and he finished last year in his 12th NFL season. He finished what is that? He finished 5th overall out of 127 interior defensive linemen that were rated by PFF. He's 34, and he produced 12 sacks. So you got Hayward, Watt, Fitzpatrick, and a rebuilt cornerback room. And if there is any vulnerability to this Steeler defense, maybe, just maybe, it's against the run if you're running away from Hayward. And maybe if the Steelers don't get any turnovers or the Rams don't turn over the ball, maybe if the Steelers offense sputters, maybe Kenny Pickens' hands are too small. Maybe their receivers don't develop. Maybe their new offensive line isn't what it should be. Maybe the Rams are in this game. But the truth is, I don't see the Rams winning this game as it stands now. Everything's subject to change. As it stands now, I don't see the Rams winning this game. I see the Rams losing this game at SoFi and falling to 2-5. And yeah, that's the potential for a rough season for the Rams. Back half gets a whole lot easier. They're going through the hard part. In week 8, they go to Dallas. In week 9, they go to Lambeau. So if the Rams could survive this portion of the schedule, then maybe they got a shot. But again, high-end prediction, 10 wins. Low-end prediction, I think 7 wins. And I think you're going to see this Ram team improve as the season goes on. Okay, I think we got all that stuff in there. It was a stone groove. It is really good. It is really good being with you. And it was a good show. So please check us out on Spotify. Check us out here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And hit like, hit subscribe, leave your comments. I can't tell you how grateful I get for the comments. If you could leave those comments, in the box here, if you could hit the share button, link this show different places, we really appreciate it. We're grateful for the momentum we're picking up in a slow part of the season, and that's because people are out there watching. Thank you so much. God bless. Take care, and we will check you out on Monday to celebrate Charlie Cowan and Joe Noteboom's birthday. Isn't that interesting? 2 tackles that play for the Rams. One was great. The other one we're hoping going to be great. We're both born on the same day. Wow. Check it out. Okay. God bless. Take care. And as always, go Rams.